we got to determine which pairs are equivalent to each other. For example, is 7 out of 20 equal to 35%? Is 9 tenths equal to 90%? And so on. All right, let's just go right in a row here. Let's take a look at 7 out of 20. Now we know a percentage is out of 100. If we write 7 out of 20, what we could do is see what it is equal to out of 100. So 7 is the part, 20 is the whole. So we have our ratio set up as part of a whole. All right, so let's figure out what this part has to be out of 100 to be equal to 7 out of 20. Well, notice that 20 fits into 100 exactly 5 times. So we can multiply 7 by 5, which is exactly 35. So we can read this as 35 out of 100, which is equal to 35% because a percentage is out of 100. So whatever number you end up getting over 100 is the actual percent. So these two values are in fact equivalent values. All right, now most people from recognition already know that 9 out of 10 is equal to 90%. Because if you add in 9 out of 10 on a quiz, most people know that's equal to 90%. But just to prove it, we can say that 9 out of 10 is equal to 90 out of 100. All we really did is we added a 0 on the top and a 0 on the bottom, which made both numbers 10 times as large. So this is equal to 90%. So these two values are in fact equivalent numbers. All right, now we should understand that when we have a denominator that is a 4, we can call that quarters, just like with money. All right, if you have 3 quarters in your pocket, that's 75 cents or 75%. Now, a couple of ways that we can prove this further is to see what 3 out of 4 is equal to out of 100. Now, 4 fits into 100 25 times. So we can multiply this 3 here by 25, and that gives us 75, which proves that this is 75%. Now, another way that we can prove this is we can take any numerator and divide it by its denominator. Now, that will convert it into a decimal value. 4 does not fit into 3, so we say 0 whole times. We add a decimal here and a 0. And 4 goes into 37 times, which is 28. We subtract and get 2. Add another 0, bring it down, and 4 can be divided into 20 exactly 5 times. Then we have to convert this decimal into its percentage equivalent by moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right, and that would give us 75%. So these two numbers are also equivalent to each other. All right, now take a look at 5/8. 8 does not fit into 100 equally, so we're not going to set up an equivalent rate out of 100. Although we still could. We could cross multiply 5 times 100 and divide it by 8 if we wanted to. But what I'm going to select to do this time is just divide the numerator by the denominator. We're going to take 5 and divide it by 8. So let's take 5 and divide it by 8 and see what we get. All right, so once again, we add our 2 decimals here, put a 0 in the tens place, and begin dividing. So 8 fits into 50, a total of 6 times, which is 48. We subtract and we get 2. Add a 0, bring it down. 8 goes into 20 twice. I'm stopping right there because we're trying to get 65, and right now we're at 62. So it doesn't matter what anything else is. So we're going to recognize that these are not equivalent values. All right, and the last one, we have 2 over 5. We can write this as 2 divided by 5. We put a decimal here, and a 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. It's equal to 0.4. So as a percentage, we move that decimal 2 spaces to the right. That would equal 40%, not 60%. So we should not select that option. All right, so this problem says select each pair of equivalent numbers. What I like to do is if the denominator fits into 100, which 8 does not, but 5 does, you could easily take that fraction, set it equal to an equivalent rate out of 100, and this number would give you the percent. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 fit into 100? And that would be 20. And we know this because we can take 100 and divide it by 5 to get 20. So 100 is 20 times bigger than 5. So we make the 3 20 times bigger, and that makes 60. Well, This gives us 0.56. If it was 60%, then it would be 0.6. So these two values are not equivalent to each other. Now, this denominator of 9 does not fit into 100 equally, so let's skip that one for now. Oh, we have a 5 right here, and 5 does fit into 100 equally. But the numbers are so small, it would be easy to just divide the numerator by the denominator. I'm going to take 2 and divide it by 5, add my 2 decimals and a 0. 5 fits into 24 times. Zero point 0.4 is not equal to 0.425. They're close to each other, but they're not equivalent, so we do not choose this one. All right, this denominator is 20, and 20 does fit into 100 exactly 5 times. So all we have to do is multiply this top number by 5. And 9 times 5 is 45. Therefore, it would be 45 out of 100, which is 45%. To have a more solid visual, let's just write 9 over 20 equals blank out of 100. And once again, we know that 20 fits into 105 times. So we increase 9 by a factor of 5, which is 45. So this is in fact equal to 45%. So we say that these two values are equivalent to each other. All right, let's take care of 5/8 and 7/8. Now, 5 out of 8, we're going to take that numerator of 5 and divide it by 8. 8 does not fit into 5, which makes sense because it's less than one whole, meaning it is 0 point something. So we put a 0 here. 8 fits into 50 6 times. That is 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. We add a 0, we bring it down. 8 goes into 20 twice, which is 16. That leaves us with 4. We add a 0, we bring it down, and then 8 goes into 40 5 times. Now, this is a decimal equivalent of 5/8. To convert it into a percent or write it as a percentage, we just move the decimal 2 spaces over, and then we write that number as a percent. And we can see that is exactly what we have right here, 62.5% or 62.5%. So these two values are in fact equivalent to each other. All right, let's test 7 over 8. So we're going to take 7 and divide it by 8. We put a 0 here. We add our 2 decimals and a 0 here. 8 times 9 is 72, which is too big. So it is 8 times 8, which is 64. 64 is 6 away from 70. So we add a 0, bring it down. 8 times 8 is too big. That's 64. So we do 8 times 7, which is 56. We subtract and we get 4 because 56 is 4 away from 60. We add a 0, bring it down, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. So we have confirmed that 7 out of 8 is in fact equal to 0.875, which is read as 875 thousandths. So those are equivalent to each other. All right, we have one more to test, 4 out of 9. Now, an interesting little fact about ninths. 1/9 is actually equal to point repeating 1. 2/9 is equal to point repeating 2. 3/9, which is equal to 1/3, is equal to point repeating 3. 4/9 is equal to point repeating 4. Now, if we were to do the math on this, we would get a repeating 4 forever and ever if we did 4 divided by 9. But if we take a look here, this does not say 0 point repeating 4. For this to say 0 point repeating 4, it would have to say 0.4 with a line over it, or sometimes you may see it written as 0 point a bunch of 4s, and then they have some dots after it to show that it keeps going on and on. Any one of those two options would be okay. This here is saying it is exactly 444 out of 1,000. That's what that is saying. That is not repeating 4. So this was created to try to fool you into thinking they are equivalent. All right, just to prove it, let's make a little bit of space here. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this right here. So I have some room to divide 4 by 9 just to kind of emphasize what we just talked about. So we're going to take 4 divided by 9. And if we add a decimal here and a 0 here, 4 times 9 is 36. We get 4 left over. We add a 0. 9 goes into 40 4 times. 4 times 9 is 36. And we get the same pattern over and over. Now, one would say, oh, it must be that because this says 0.444, but it stops. This does not say that it's repeating. It's saying it's exactly 0.444, but it's not. So these two options are not equivalent to each other, although they may appear to be at the surface. So you have to be careful.